Another word problem, like before, we're going to have to write a system of equations. It says that Juan is 8 years older than his sister. We'll write an equation for that. In 3 years, he will be twice as old as she will be then. And we'll write another equation for that. Since we need to know two things, Juan's age, we need a variable for that. I'm going to use not just letters, but colors here. Let's use blue for Juan's age. The other thing we need to know is his sister's age. Let's use pink for that. And the letter S. Okay. So when we get that, we'll highlight it with blue and pink when we find out what J is and when we find out what S is. So like it says, we have to also write two equations. So a different color now is I want to use red to represent this an equation that we're going to get from this sentence. We need to write an equation that says Juan is 8 years older than his sister. Now, the first part, I think you'll find easy. To write Juan is, we're just going to say J equals or Juan equals. Remember, J is Juan or Juan's age. So for Juan's age, we'll say J is, okay. Now, 8 years older than his sister is going to be his sister's age plus 8, or S plus 8. So go ahead and write that equation, please. All right, so I'm going to call that the red equation. I'm going to put a red box around it. Okay. Now we need another equation, and I'm going to use a different color. We'll say let's use green. And that equation will come from this sentence. In 3 years, Juan, I'm paraphrasing, Juan will be twice as old as his sister will be in 3 years. So what we need to write down before we do anything else is Juan's age in 3 years and his sister's age in 3 years. I'm going to write the words. We're going to erase the words in a minute, but Juan's age in 3 years in 3 years and his sister's age in 3 years. You normally don't have to put the wording down. So like I said, I'm going to erase it in just a minute. But the way we'll express Juan's age in 3 years, whatever he is now, which is J, we're just going to add 3 to it. So his age in 3 years will be J plus 3. And his sister's age will be S plus 3. Notice that I usually write my letters smaller than my numbers because we don't want that S to look like a 5 later on. Now, even though these aren't equal, we're going to make them equal in a second. And remember that it doesn't say that he's the same age. Of course, that wouldn't make sense in 3 years. It says in 3 years he will be, or I should say, Juan's age. Let me use purple here. This will be 3 times the sister's age. So to say that, to express that, we need to say Juan's age in 3 years. The part I underlined in purple is going to be 2 times, twice. So we need to put a 2 there. So that's going to be our second equation. And like I said, since we don't need these little notes here, I'm going to erase all of them. Okay. And this will just be our, let me move it over a little bit, our green, I'm going to call it green, our green equation. Okay, that'll be our green equation. So let me make a box in green here. It's not very good, but I think it'll work. Okay, so we have two equations. All right. What we're going to do is substitute or replace J with some other expression. And if we've written these down, let me give you a hint here. This says that J, I want to use yellow, this says that J is the same thing as S plus 8. It doesn't use the word same thing. It uses an equal symbol, but that's what equals means. It means that j is the same thing as s plus 8. Let me erase that yellow. That means that whenever we see the letter j, and I see a j right here, I can replace that yellow j there with s plus 8. I'm going to say that again, and then I'm going to erase the yellow in a second, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to, after I rewrite it, I'm going to write this green box again. J plus 3 is equal to, I'm going to distribute here. 2 times s is 2s, and 2 times 3 is 6. But like I said a second ago, I'm going to erase and replace. The technical word is substitute. I'm going to substitute, instead of j, I'm going to substitute s plus 8 there. So let me erase that j and put s plus 8 there. S plus 8. Okay. Now we can simplify the equation I just wrote by combining the like terms. And again, the reason it's a little bit easier is because it doesn't have two letters, two variables, two unknowns in it. The red box has two letters, a J and an S, and so does the green box. It has a J and an S. But this new equation that I wrote only has one variable, one letter, one unknown, the letter S. But yeah, we can combine like terms. We can combine 8 plus 3, for instance, right here. That's just going to give us 11. So we'll have S plus 11 is equal to 2S plus 6. Make sure you write that down. If you need to pause while you're writing, that's okay. Now I'm going to combine the S's. We don't want them to be on both sides, so I'm going to subtract S from this side and subtract S from that side. Of course, 2S minus 1S, I didn't write a 1 there, but it's understood to be there. 2S minus 1S will just give us S. These will simplify. We'll bring down the 6, and we'll bring down the 11. Now to get S by itself, we want to do the inverse of what I've already done. I've added a 6. The inverse of that would be subtracting 6. So we want to do that to both sides. We want to subtract 6 on that side and subtract 6 on that side. And these will simplify, and we'll be left with 11 minus 6, which is 5. And I'm going to put the S on the equals on the other side. And that's why I like to write my letters smaller. We don't want that S to look like a 5. So let me highlight that. Remember we had said you don't have to do this, but I'm going to use pink to highlight this part. S, which is his sister's age, right? Remember up here, is 5. We could use either the green box or the red box. Both will work. If we use the green box, which I'm going to write here, I'm going to write what's in the green box, which is J plus 3 is equal to 2 times S plus 5, S plus 3. But remember what we said about the S, okay? What we said about the S. We had said a minute ago that the S, right, is the same thing as 5. So I'm going to erase that pink S right there and put a 5, replace it, substitute a 5 instead. Okay. And now we can simplify what we have. 5 plus 3 is just going to be 8. So we're going to have J plus 3 is equal to 2 times 8. 2 times 8 is 16. And since I have added 3, J plus 3, we need to subtract 3 from both sides. If I subtract 3 on this side. I got to subtract it on that side. And those 3's will simplify. And we'll get that J is equal 16 minus 3 is 13. And that's the other variable that we wanted. I'm going to go back and use blue again. So remember that we said that J was Juan's age. So remember up at the top there, yeah, right here, maybe J is 13 and S is 5. So we could put our answer here, I guess, or whatever. That was 15. And that was, oh wait, I'm sorry, 13, sorry. 13 and S was 5. So that's going to be our answers. All right, 13 and 5, and I also have it down there in blue and in pink. All right.